Donna, the accounting lady, and today we're going to talk a little bit about what happens or what you should do after your bankruptcy is discharged. Now, hopefully you've never had to do that. I've been very lucky or patient or smart or something. I've never had to file bankruptcy, but a lot of people do get in that situation. And there's a reason why we have bankruptcy laws in the United States. It's a great way, well, no, it's not a great way, but it is a way to kind of overcome an insurmountable mountain of debt. Sometimes these debts go up because of medical bills, things that are just kind of beyond your control, and sometimes it's because of poor spending habits. Sometimes it's because you did run up a lot of debt in the complete expectation that you would be able to pay it back, and a business reversal or a job loss or any of 100 things happened and you just weren't able to do that. So I am thankful for the bankruptcy laws here. I do know that in Europe bankruptcy is not permitted, so you just have to deal with it. But here in the United States, we believe in second chances. So let's talk about 10 ways to make 10 things to do after bankruptcy to really help you bounce back. You're starting off with a clean slate. So what do you do next? Your bankruptcy has been discharged. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you put your bankruptcy paperwork somewhere safe. You probably never want to see that stuff again, which is totally understandable. Anytime you go through a long legal process like that, you don't want to see that stuff again. But you do want to put it somewhere safe. I haven't declared bankruptcy, but I do have a filing cabinet in my office that I can lock up. And that's where I put the kind of paperwork that I want to keep safe. Oh, sorry. But you want to keep it. Hopefully you will never have to look at it again, but you want to keep it. And the reason is that if you're going out and you're applying for loans, especially if it's a house or a business or something like that, the lender may very well want to see the paperwork, so you really want to keep it. It just offers proof that you don't owe any more of those payments. Now, it's time to repair your credit and move forward and start achieving some long-term plans. The first thing you want to do is to really think about how to rebuild your credit. You've got a clean slate. The last thing you want to do is rush out and apply for every credit card that comes down the pike. As a recently discharged bankruptcy, they get a ton of credit offers because the credit card companies know that you can't declare bankruptcy again for, I think it's 7 years. So you want to really think about what your outcomes are and how you got in that fix to begin with and how to keep it from happening again. So if you do decide that you want to apply for a credit card, you really want to think about what your strategies are. And I personally, I don't like to have a credit card unless I know I can pay it off. And I know that I can pay it off, ideally pay off the entire balance every month. I talked about this last time. Or, at least make sizable payments towards it, especially if it's something like for a major purchase or larger purchase, like a refrigerator or, kitchen appliances or something like that. That might be something you need to break up into 3 chunks, but you want to make sure that that money is budgeted. In fact, I would suggest that you create a bank account. My sister did this for years. She would run her bank account, her checking account, and she would treat her credit card as if it was a debit card. So when she ran her credit card, she would actually take the money out of her checking account, at least in her mind. At least this is back when we had ledgers. She would write it down. And then at the end of the month, she could pay that sucker off because the money was already budgeted for it. And I think that would be a great thing to do, or to set up a separate account where you put the money aside first for the credit card payments. And then if you use your credit card, you can pay it off. And today, with everything being online, you can pay that off every time you use it. So it doesn't become an albatross hanging around your neck again. You need to be thinking about interest rates and annual fees. I have um, I have had credit cards offered to me with like a $300 limit, but $150 of fees and interest right off the bat, and I just kind of declined those because I was, that's ridiculous. You really want to read the fine print, especially recovering from a bankruptcy. Um, you want to really think about what created the problem in the first place. What happened that your debt became so overwhelming that you felt like bankruptcy was the only option? I'm not saying this to run down anyone that's gone through the process. Sometimes it just happens. But you want to look at why it happened. Was it a temporary issue that has since been resolved, like a job loss, or maybe a divorce that you ended up with half of your spouse's debt and it was more than you could pay, or you found out that they had more debt than you realized, or maybe you got sick and you weren't able to work for a long time and you weren't able to make your bills. Or is it poor money habits? If it's poor money habits, you need to really think about that. You can come talk to a professional. There's lots of credit counseling agencies out there. You can come talk to an accountant. I would be happy to sit down with someone and talk to them about their poor money habits. The interesting thing about it is that everybody who comes to me to look at their books, they say things like, oh, mine are the worst. I have the worst books you've ever seen, Donna. And I'm just like, it's like going to the doctor. I've seen it all. You do not have the worst books I've ever seen, I promise. I've seen a few that were in close competition, shall we say. In fact, I went to bid on doing some work for a gentleman, and when I got there, it actually was so bad that I couldn't even take him on as a client. It just was, I was like, no, I would have had to have charged him $700 a week just to get him organized, to the point that I could put him on a less expensive plan. But you really want to look at your habits. I know people think that I'm fairly impulsive but I'm really not. Because I will do things like I will shop for weeks or months, especially on major purchases like a car, but even on smaller purchases, anything over about $100. I will really think about, do I want this? Do I really want this? Is this the one that I want, and why do I want it? And then when I finally make a decision that yes, I want to get the smartwatch, or I want to get a new phone, or whatever it is, I really sit and I think about it. And a lot of times I'll process through that for months. And then it appears to other people that after I've gone through this process of considering what is the benefit of continuing to work with what I have versus what is the benefit of purchasing something new. And then I will spend a long time really thinking about that. But then when the opportunity comes to make that purchase, I've already mentally prepared for it. An example would be my last car was a minivan that my parents had given me. I was broke at the time when they gave it to me. I was trying to rebuild some credit. I didn't have to declare bankruptcy, but I was fairly newly divorced. I was still trying to figure out how to make my business go. Things were kind of dismal for me financially, and my parents they decided to upgrade their minivan, and they gave me their old one. And I was so thankful for that. I drove that car for about 5 or 6 or 7 years. I don't even remember how long it was. And I always joke that I drive my cars until the wheels come off. Well, one day, that's exactly what happened. I was driving down the road and, something felt wonky, and I thought, well, it must be a flat. I will just pull up here to the gas station and check the air in that tire. And I was just creeping along at about 10, 15 miles an hour. And it's a darn good thing I was, because then all of a sudden I heard this thunk and a lurch and looked up, and there goes my tire bouncing across the state street. And I was just like, well, it's not flat. And there it goes. So that was kind of the day I was like, okay, I have to buy a new car. What kind of car do I want? I decided that my kids are almost grown. I didn't need a minivan anymore. I decided I wanted a small car. I knew I wanted it in white. I knew I wanted to stream music over Bluetooth, and I kind of made a list of everything I wanted. And I started shopping online quite a bit. And then I just went to the dealership, and there my car was sitting there waiting for me, and everything just fell into place. But to my salesperson, she thought it was just an impulse. I actually spent months thinking about this and what kind of car did I want? What kind of gas mileage did I want? And everything. I really thought through everything. So you really, and I'm telling you this whole long story because a lot of people will look at me and they'll see impulsive, and I do have a lot of impulsive tendencies. But a lot of times what people see in me as impulsive are things I've pondered purchasing for months, at least for months. It's things like, can I truly afford this? Is this something I'm just going to have to figure out how to afford? Or is it something that I can do without a little bit longer? Is it something that's going to bring so much value to my life that it's worth the money? Or do I just feel like I just need it? I don't do retail therapy is one of the things that I have friends that go, you don't like to shop? No, I don't like to shop. I either like to buy, but I don't want to go shopping unless I have lots of money to go shopping with. So I don't go very often. So I'm really trying to dig into my own poor money management issues or habits. One is I try to keep everything up to date for myself in QuickBooks so that I always know what I owe on my credit cards, what my interest rates are, how close I am to paying them off, what the balances are versus what my expected income is, what happens if I lose my biggest client. Can I pull back quite some on my spending? I really kind of obsess about all of this, and I try to go over this at least once a week. Because I don't ever want to be in a bad position financially again. But the reason you want to really think about what got you into bankruptcy in the first place, especially if it's a chronic habit, is you don't ever want to go through that again. It's a miserable place to be. The next thing would be to establish a relationship with your bank. Now, I'm a little bit biased. I bank at Chase, actually up here in Cedar Hills. I really like them. I feel like they know who I am. But you really want to talk to them. You want to let them know what the story is. What happened? Why did you end up having to file for bankruptcy? The thing is, when you're a human being and not just a number, an account number, it changes the way. The next one would be carefully consider from whom you borrow. Like I said, after bankruptcy, every credit provider out there knows that you cannot declare bankruptcy again for about 7 years. It may be 10 years. More than 4%. And I'm not going over 5 years on a loan. You can just take that 8-year loan and throw it away. And I really just kind of laid out, these are the terms that I want. This is the total price I'm willing to pay. This is the monthly payment I'm looking for. And these are the terms of the loan that I'm looking for. And if you can't fulfill that, then I don't really need a new car that badly today. And he said, that's just amazing because a lot of people will just go in and say, well, I want a $400 payment. And that's all they think about. And I was asking all the questions about the loan because I knew that I didn't want to be underwater. I knew that probably in 5 years I'm going to be looking for another car, so I don't want to be underwater again. I kind of am now. I'm looking to refinance my car at a lower interest rate and a shorter term so I can pay it off sooner. But it just floors me that people don't ask these questions. So learn the questions to ask and make sure you ask them. The next one would be check your credit report. Check it frequently. At least check it annually. You can do that at freecreditreport.com. Dispute anything that isn't accurate. Make sure you know who's using your credit. If you see anything that's not accurate, dispute it. If there's things like, you know you paid off the loan and they're showing that you still owe a balance, dispute it. And make sure that you're actually ready to take out a loan and you're ready to borrow money before you take out another loan. There's no point, excuse me. There's no point in borrowing for the sake of borrowing. You need to make sure that you're ready for the loan. And also understand that, especially after you file bankruptcy, if you're even 30 days late, you'll be heavily penalized on your credit score. So you need to make sure that you get everything paid on time. I always recommend automatic payments. Go ahead and let them do the bank drafts. This kind of eliminates any concern. For example, I have a loan on my car, like most of us do, and I know what day of the month it comes out on, and I know how much to leave in the bank account on that day. And so I just make sure that that money is there, and I don't have to worry about writing them a check. Oh, excuse me. Make sure you're budgeting well. Again, you need to sit down and you need to write down all of your income from all sources. This is not anything you're going to share with anyone except maybe an accountant who'd be willing to help you with that. Do you want to write down all of your income from all sources? And then you need to write down all of your living expenses, your rent or mortgage, homeowners or renters insurance, car loan, car insurance, health insurance, utilities, how much you want to budget for clothing, how much you want to budget for grooming, personal expenses. I know a lot of gentlemen especially kind of forget to put that in there, and so they don't think to ask. But for us ladies, cosmetics, all of our creams and salves and serums and lash extensions and hair color and all that, it's expensive. Okay, so make sure you're budgeting for that. And really, look at how you think it should go. And then keep track of all of your spending for a month and see how close it matches to what you thought it should be. It may be that you need to adjust your budget a little bit. It may be that you need to cut back a little bit on spending, and it may be that you have a little bit more room than you thought. And if it's the second one, I would suggest that you put that extra money away for a rainy day. Actually, I've told my kids, my suggestion to them is that they put 10% in long-term savings. Because we are Christian, I say you should pay yourself every bit as much as you should pay God, as far as tithing is concerned. I say, then you should put 20% of it towards short-term savings, towards an emergency fund, and really you should be living on half of your income. And I know a lot of people are going to come back and say, oh my gosh, it's impossible in today's world. It's difficult. Yeah, I will grant you that. But if you're trying to do this as a guideline, even if you don't quite make it, but if you get in this habit of paying yourself first, investing money first, before you make sure that money is budgeted first before you go and spend anything, then you'll find that when the rainy days and the emergencies come up, you have money and you can pay for the expensive car repair, or you can put a down payment on a car that changes your loan, or you can pay for the doctor's visit without having to extend credit. You can pay for these things so long as you have a cushion that you just don't even touch. I know people that even will cash their check. They don't deposit it. They'll deposit it, let it go through, take it out the next day, and physically count out the cash and put it in separate envelopes so that they know, I have the money here. I have this money here. This is my rent. This is my utilities. This is my insurance. This is my grocery bill. This is my Disneyland fund. This is, whatever it is. And after you've done all that, then you can look at, if I throw a car loan into this mix, then what happens? So if you get a credit card after you're done with your bankruptcy, you make your payments on time, month after month after month, you should be looking at your credit report and seeing those scores go up. And then your credit card will probably is going to raise your credit limit. There is a danger to this. I was when I drove up to Seattle last month, I stopped at a place and I was kind of chuckling at the lady waiting with me for gas. She was right ahead of me. And I said, you know, we ladies who drive Chevys kind of need to watch out for each other because the gas tank is on the passenger side, not on the driver's side like most cars. And we were kind of joking, and I noticed her jeans and asked her, you know, where did you get those? Did you get those from the Buckle? And we kind of talked about that a little bit. And I said, yeah, it's one of my favorite stores too. I said, they keep raising my credit limits. I think I have $3,000 worth of credit at the Buckle, just the Buckle, $1,500 at Victoria's Secret. And the scary thing is I could spend that, but I don't. I kind of keep that for cards like the Buckle. They have points. So if I want to go shop at the Buckle, if I want to go buy a new pair of jeans, I know how much their jeans cost. I will put that money aside in my checking account. I will go to the Buckle. I will buy clothes and come back, and as soon as I sit down at my computer, I will make that payment. So I'm earning the points, but I don't have a big credit card bill. You do need to be continually tweaking your budget, by the way. The challenge that I'm having right now, oh my goodness. Evidently, I swallow a lot of air and it gets painful. The challenge that I'm having right now is I'm paying off all of my credit cards, so I'm finding that I have more cash in my account, which is a nice place to be. And the nice thing about that is then I can use some of my lower limit credit cards, pay them off every month because I have the cash, and watch those limits go up again. Your attitude post-bankruptcy is important too. There are people that will just view bankruptcy as just a business decision, and there are those that really try to learn from the experience. I have been told that I'm one of those people that spends a lot of time looking back, and there is some truth to that, but there's a reason why I do it. It's so that I can figure out what I did that got me outcomes that I didn't like. It's not even so much what I did wrong, but I did something and it created an outcome. And if it's an outcome I don't like, then I want to go back and look, well, what did I do? And what could I do differently to create a different outcome? That's not the same thing as just dwelling in the past. I don't really do that. You know, one of my favorite lines is, you know, that was so 5 minutes ago. But I do like to look at, you know, are the outcomes that I'm getting in my life what I actually want? If they're not, is it something that I recognize what happened? And if it is, you know, if I can look at it and say, well, I did this, and this happened, and this caused this outcome that I don't like, I will look at all that, and then I might say, you know, I could change things, but I don't want to. And it's very it would be, well, yes, I know I need to lose some weight. I'm overweight. But you know what? I like ice cream. And I like ice cream more than I like being skinny. So that could be a decision that I make. Or I might say, you know, I found out, this is not true, by the way, but it has happened to several friends. I might find out that I've got type 2 diabetes. Again, I don't have it. But that might be the thing that I say, no more. Not another day, not another minute. I'm going to be counting carbs. Whatever it is, from now on, I'm losing the weight. It could be that I've met a gentleman that I want to have in my life, and I know that he likes skinny women. I might then say, not another day, not another minute. I am losing weight. Oh, this is hurting. But you have to be the one to make that decision. And if you're looking at bankruptcy, if you're looking at this as this was an outcome that I didn't like, it's not a good outcome. What can I learn from having been in this situation that will create better outcomes for me in the future? If you just look at it as I'm just a loser and this is just another loser move that I've made in my life because I screw everything up, you're not going to learn anything from it. But if you look at it as, let me see what I did that created the issue, and now let me see what I can do to create a different outcome. There are actually a lot of resources out there for you if you have any sort of credit problems at all, budgeting problems of any kind. The very first thing to learn is that you can't manage what you don't measure. So if you don't know what's in the bank account, if you're not budgeting your money every week, every month at a minimum, every week would be ideal, then you just don't have the information you need to figure out what you did that created the problem and what you could do differently in the future. So there's that. There are tons of accountants out there that would be more than happy to sit down with you and help you figure out a budget, help you figure out how, there's tons of, I know that there's resources through churches, there's resources through private accountants, there's all kinds of resources. If you want to get on top of your budgeting and never have to declare bankruptcy again, oh goodness, go talk to an accountant or talk to a trusted friend or talk to parents or talk to someone that you can trust with your money and see what you can do differently to create a different outcome. That's it for tonight. I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to be out hiking as much as I can because I am deciding that I don't like the way I look. So I'm making those changes, and one of those changes is giving up ice cream, which I'm not excited about. But another change is to get out in my beloved Wasatch Mountains and to hike as much as possible. And so I will be doing that in the evening. So if I don't broadcast as often, it's probably going to be why. Have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you again soon.